everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Event Tech Talk Show. Today we're exploring silent audio with Duncan Strain, the founder of Silent Seminars. Now, Silent Seminars are an award-winning company that is revolutionizing event audio across the UK, Middle East, North America, and further afield. Now, what started as a simple solution for conference sessions has ultimately evolved into something much bigger. We're talking wellness experiences. Sorry, mumbling my words there. Try and get that one out. Immersive art installations and breaking down barriers through real-time translation and accessibility features. Now, Duncan just landed in the US market, and we'll explore how he's scaling this specialized technology globally while navigating the challenges of building trust in new markets. So, Duncan, the origin story. Did you sit there as a youngster thinking, I want a business where everybody wears these funky headsets at events? How did it all get started?
Hi, Adam. Good to see you as always, mate. I certainly did not. So I don't know how far you want me to go back, but I was, let's say 2007, 2008, around then, I was promoting club nights in Birmingham, and my business partner actually went to Goa in India, and he experienced a silent disco on the beach, and he came back raving about it. Said it's the most incredible thing I've ever done. You know, people have danced on the beach in silence, listening to different DJs. I actually thought he'd gone insane. I thought it was the most ridiculous idea I'd ever heard. Anyway, long story short, he talked me into doing it. Me and a good friend of mine, Richard, he talked us into putting on the first ever silent disco in Birmingham. And it was mind-blowing to me as well when I first saw it. We had 800 people turn up at this disused warehouse in the middle of Birmingham, 3 DJs on the stage, all playing different genres. And people seemed to just get it and got right into it. And immediately I kind of saw, the potential there for a business, not just for putting on our own silent disco events, but renting them out to other people, other event organizers, festivals, and things like that. So right away, we set up a rental business. We did our own events as well, but mainly focused on the rentals, like I said, renting to other organisers. And then in about 2015, I'm going to give you some credit here, Adam, because I think it was you that actually came to us on the back of your first Event Tech Live in 2014?
Around about then, yeah, maybe 2014, yeah.
And you got in touch, you or Paul it was, and basically said, well, the event was brilliant, but the audio was a real problem. What do you think about using your technology in the Old Truman Brewery to help us overcome, the sound issues? So we said yes, did the event with you, went really well, as far as I remember.
I don't think we had any audio issues that year. That's the
same.
I think just to give people some context as well, if they've not been to the Truman Brewery, because we do have listeners from much further afield just in the UK, and maybe not even everybody's in the UK has been to it. The Truman Brewery is a fantastic, very trendy building in Shoreditch in London, but it comes with its own quirks and features. And the way that we designed the event was very much to have the exhibition mixed in on the show floor with the content. The content was right at the heart. And our lack of experience shone through that first year. We were like, well, how hard can it be? And actually, by the time that we'd got multiple stages with PA and lots of people talking and just the buzz of the exhibition show floor, the vast majority of our feedback came from the fact that attendees were like, fantastic content, but really hard to concentrate on it because of just the ambient noise. So that was our lack of experience. And I think we've seen a shift, haven't we, Duncan, with a lot of events kind of using that strategy of content on the show floor in the thick of things, but having those challenges around audio, just like us in that first year.
Yeah, 100%. And to me, off the back of that success, it was a bit of a light bulb moment. I kind of thought, you know what, we've got this technology, but how can we adapt it, move it into the conference and exhibition space? So the first thing we did was to set up our own separate brand, Silent Noize Events, which is the kind of holding company and the brand that dealt with all the fun stuff, all the silent discos and everything. we like that brand, but we thought we needed something a bit more corporate, something that separates us apart from other silent disco companies that are operating in or trying to operate in the corporate space. And that's how Silent Seminars was born. And it's been an upward trajectory ever since, apart from the couple of years
of
don't really need to mention. We've had very strong growth all the way through, really, apart from that break, and we've just had our busiest ever 6 months. So yeah, things are looking good and on the up, particularly for Silent Seminars.
Yeah, and it's been really nice to see your company evolve, and just how many other organizations that I'm familiar with and know, both from an event industry perspective, but also kind of other organizers in other verticals, adopt and work with you directly to do that now. It's almost become a little strange not to see organizers using some form of headset at their event now, for people to be able to concentrate on that content a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to back that up, I was just on a call before this one with a fellow in Singapore, and he said there's a problem over there. There's noise problems, but they don't have this as a solution yet. So that used to be the case here, but now it's become almost industry standard. When you go to an exhibition and if there's theatres built into the show floor, they're pretty much using headphones, which is great.
And the organizer in Singapore, was that very much similar scenario to us? Are they facing other slightly different challenges there?
No, the same. Essentially, they run an event. It's a completely different type of event to yours, but same problem. They've got audio issues and they don't have a solution for it. So we're able to help them out, and hopefully this year, the organisers will see the benefit of using those headphones to everyone, and it will become normal practice for them going forward for all their events.
And you were recently telling me about just the scale in which you can provide these headsets at, right? Because most people, when they see an event like Event Tech Live, maybe there's 150 people or something in an audience using headsets. I believe you've just delivered an event. I don't know whether we can say who they are, so I'll skirt around it, but a very well-known next day delivery international organization. And I think you were saying like over 1,000 headsets for an event produced with those guys.
Yeah, a lot more than that, actually. So I think we can say, because the event's been and gone now, is the AWS Summit in London. And this year it was the biggest one we've ever done with them. So they had 15,000 headphones.
Holy crap.
That was split across 42 different, theatres or exhibition stands or activations. So it was on a completely different level to most events that we do. But it was incredible. The whole event was, I'm going to say, in silence. I mean, they had 28,000 people there, so there was a lot of noise on the floor. But practically, they couldn't do that. They couldn't have that many theatres running concurrently without delivering the audio through headphones, because people wouldn't be able to hear. It would just be a complete nightmare. So yeah, that's the level we can operate at, and we successfully delivered it. It was brilliant, and we love doing events like that.
And now I've just got visions of 15,000 headsets stored in a warehouse somewhere in Birmingham, mate. That must be a huge logistical piece of work to get them in and out and delivered to other events and stuff like that.
It is not for me. We've got an amazing team. When I mentioned us starting, however long ago it was, 15 years, we were running it out of a pub in Digbeth. I was doing it all myself. I was switching batteries around. I was dropping headphones off here, there, and everywhere. And yeah, now it's a completely different game. We've got a big swanky warehouse and lots of great staff and all that. It's a completely different game.
And that's very much the same story, I think, probably for any or every successful supplier in the industry, right? Even some of these big names that you see on like the outdoor side of things, like Arena and Stageco and those kind of organizations, One World Rental, another provider that started off very, very small and now is this global international provider. And I think one of the things that I see that you've all got in common is, one, just a passion for what you do, but a real global mind to say, well, if we're doing this here for one organization and they're doing events in the US or in the Middle East and they want the same quality and service and supply, there's that trust and that relationship that's been built through that. And that's why you guys go from pubs to now big warehouses all over the world delivering these technologies to events and things. So bravo. Bravo to you, mate.
Thank you.
It's not just conferences though, is it? It's not just seminars and people listening to people speaking on stage and panel discussions and things like that. There's a number of other things that you have ultimately delivered for organizations and probably will continue to as well. And I mentioned some of those in kind of my introduction, but any recent work that springs to mind that sits outside of the normal kind of conference plenary session that you guys have worked with an organizer on?
Yes, definitely. I mean, we do the fun stuff as well. We don't just do your bog standard conference work. We do, and it's one of those things that I never thought of before, when I started the company, how the sort of evolution of the headsets and how they could be used in all these different environments. So they're used for, for silent yoga, for meditation, for event wellness rooms, immersive experiences, silent cinema, silent fitness even. So some activations that we've done, we did an event called Run for Your Life with ASICS, I don't know how you say it, the trainer brand, everyone knows it. And they took a load of athletes through a city, and they had somebody who was mic'd up, and he was sort of encouraging them to get involved and do certain things. And it was great, seeing people run through a city with headphones on. It was a bit different, and we love stuff like that. I like doing different types of events. And we do also deliver educational experiences through a partner of ours, a company called Now Press Play. So they kind of curate these educational experiences that they then deliver to the pupils, young pupils, normally junior school age, through the headphones. The whole idea being that the kids are far less distracted by what their friends are doing or outside influences, outside noises. They've got the headphones on, they're fully engaged, they're fully immersed in the sessions, and it works incredibly well. And they're a fantastic company, Now Press Play. They're one of our partners.
And I think you're ahead of the curve as well, mate, because I was sat watching Apple's keynote last night, WWDC. This was on for anybody listening to this later. This is on. We're recording this on the 10th of June, and that event was last night. And you are really ahead of the curve in that sense, because only now is Apple rolling out multiple AirPods being able to connect to the same source, specifically for education as well, specifically for universities, schools, colleges, and things like that. So whoever's educating, whoever's teaching can use one kind of display. So everybody can use either their own AirPods, or I'm guessing a set of AirPods that the schools might have available to them, very much so that those students can really focus in on those rather than getting distracted by everybody else. Or even worse, having audio play through, I don't know, maybe an iPad or something, or maybe the venue's not got the best kind of AV technology and stuff like that, and it lets it down a bit. So you were kind of doing that, and Apple's following in your footsteps, mate, on that sense. And just to touch a little bit on the wellness side of things, and you mentioned, I guess, kind of what another organization does event well, which is these rooms and these spaces in which attendees can go to, I guess, to retreat a little bit, to have some space, to have some time, and kind of get away from the busy show floor, which can for some people be very overstimulating and things like that. How is your technology used in that environment there?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I think those rooms and those experiences are extremely valuable. I think all events should have them personally, because it's great, even if you just step in there for 5 minutes to get away from the hubbub of the show or the meeting that you've just had, just to reflect on that meeting. Or, if it all becomes a bit overwhelming, going into a wellness room where it's all calming and you can just sit and stick a pair of headphones on and meditate for 5-10 minutes, whatever it is, and completely remove yourself from that sort of stressful, high impact event space you've just been in. I think it's extremely valuable. And most of them now have headphones in there just as normal practice. So it's not, you don't go in there and get given a pair of headphones, but there's a space where you can sit and listen to some meditative music or something like that within the wellness room. So yeah, I'm all for it. I think every event should have them, personally.
I guess that brings us nice on to, starting a pub, grown in the UK, now in multiple different countries, the Middle East, the US, where I'm all across Europe, right, Duncan? Where am I missing? Have I missed anything?
Yeah, well, we've got, no, I think you've pretty much covered it. So we've got partnerships in mainland Europe, in the Middle East, over in Dubai, and in North America, and we're currently working on several other partnerships. I won't go too much into that because I don't want to give anything away. It's a bit top secret at the moment, but there's lots of irons in lots of fires globally. So very soon we will have complete global coverage.
And if I don't mind me asking, from one business owner to another, you've obviously done a great job at breaking into those regions, scaling, while also clearly delivering a very busy business as it is. What are some of the challenges and surprises that you faced along the way that you've maybe able to navigate? Because often these podcasts are, yes, they're about the events industry, yes, they're about event tech in this space, but I think we're all, business owners or involved in business, and we all face these challenges or have these aspirations to go global. Like, I'm sure people would find it interesting to hear your side of it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think the biggest barrier really for us has been, how do we gain the trust of new clients in new regions? Because to an extent, we have that here in the UK because we're well established. We've been doing it for a long time. So we're very fortunate in that we have a lot of repeat customers who use us, maybe 10, 15 times a year. And so that's where the idea to go global came from, is that if we can replicate that business model in other regions, we know it's going to be a success because there is a need for our product anywhere in the world, anywhere where there's an event industry, there is a need for our product. So the challenge is, how do we find the right partners, because we've set up partnership models rather than the hefty expense of going into the US and setting up an office there and a warehouse and employing staff, which is a extremely expensive venture. We've gone down the partnership route. So we've been actively looking over the past few years for trustworthy partners who are already established in the event industry and who understand the product, but also understand our ethos and our beliefs as a business, because that's really important. They've got to sell this for us and we've got to sell it with them.
Yeah.
We need to be able to trust them and they need to be able to trust us. But, it's important that our clients understand that the business model in the UK and our ethos and beliefs is replicated all across the world. So wherever you go to get Silent Seminar headsets and services, you'll be getting the same the same service at the end of the day. So that's really important to us, but it's not easy. That's the bottom line. It's not easy to sit here in the UK and sell to other markets that you're not already in, because you don't know anyone a lot of the time. You're trying to break down barriers. You're trying to, meet people on LinkedIn or wherever it might be. And they're not always open to having a conversation with somebody they don't know. Introductions from people in the industry are, as you know, are key. People who can vouch for you and say, well, these guys, we work with them in this country and they do a good job. So why don't you, see what they're all about over there? That's really important. And attending shows, we're off to Dubai next week to the Middle East event show. I think those face-to-face relationships are how you really build trust and develop partnerships. So we're all for attending as many events as possible and getting out there and meeting people. I think that's really the only way to do it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good to hear, mate. We'd be in trouble if you didn't believe in events. That's for sure. Face-to-face meetings. I guess just to wrap that part up, then, thinking about the last, what is it now, 10, 15 years you've been in the industry, I think.
Yeah, 15 in the headset industry. Yeah,
15 years. For any other organization out there, event tech or otherwise, that's thinking about moving into other markets, what piece of advice would you give them, or what advice would you give them that you wish you'd had when you first started looking into that?
That's a good question. I'd go back to what I've just said and pick the right people to work with. Pick people who understand you, understand what your business is all about, understand the products, and also have a passion for it, a passion to deliver and drive the product. Because if they don't have that, they're never really going to be fully invested in it, and the partnership and the business probably isn't going to work.
Yeah, and I think the partnership model is a fantastic way to grow. You can bring your experience, products, services. You share the rewards, obviously, of that business coming in, but it's also another bow or a string in that bow to that supplier. Another thing that they can offer, another service, so they're adding more value to their existing customers. You know, and the world's a big place. You can't, I think people often feel like they can tackle it, but some of the biggest global brands in the world that visibly seem to be doing everything themselves do not work on, they own the whole slice of the cake. They work on a partnership model. They work with regional partners and distributors and companies that, like you said, know how things operate in that region on a day-to-day basis and have those relationships and stuff, right? Yes, they carry the brand. Actually, to the consumer or to whoever's purchasing from that business, it doesn't feel any different, but it's owned and operated in partnership with another organization, and they both benefit. And I've seen some fantastic other technology providers kind of scale in that way as well.
I mean, yeah, just to expand on that, the US market in particular, as I'm sure you know, is so vast. I mean, it's, you know, each state is almost its own market. So it's how do you go about tackling that? How do you approach, you know, which region do you go to first? Which state do you work on? It's, you know, it's difficult to know where to begin, isn't it? It's such a huge market. And that's why we're so excited to be there, because there is such a big opportunity out there in the US.
And so other than the opportunity, what's that journey been like then? You know, you've landed in the US now. The market is obviously huge. You know, when you actually look at the size and scale of the US, let's say just compared to the UK, I think we're smaller than Texas, I think, as land goes. There's obviously very, very large pockets of events, you know, Vegas, California, San Francisco, New York, DC, Chicago, Detroit. They're all event centers and things like that. That's obviously exciting, but is that also kind of daunting at the same time? There's just so much opportunity there.
There is so much opportunity, and yes, it is daunting because, like I just said, where do you begin? Our partners are based in California, so they know that area, really, really well, and they've got great coverage. But they also have national coverage, and they use a sort of network of trusted partners in the industry over there as well. So if they're delivering an event in New York, which is, I don't know, 6 hours flight away, God knows how long it takes to truck a load of screens over there, they will do it. But often they just use, you know, trusted partners to deliver the stuff for them because it makes complete sense. But the one thing that's really kind of blown my mind in the US is just how much money they spend on logistics. It's insane. So our partner actually delivered an event in Florida, which is a hell of a long way from California. And it was loads of LED wall and microphones and headphones and everything. And the company took them from California and they trucked everything through the states down to Florida. I mean, the bill for shipping must have been $100,000, something like that. But they paid it because they knew our partner's reputation. They'd worked with them before in events on the West Coast, and they trusted them. And they said, well, it might cost a little more money, but we'd rather pay that and use a company that knows us and knows the event, and we know we can trust to deliver the event successfully.
Yeah, it's the way that lots of organizers and suppliers operate in the US. It is vast. I think we'll soon at some point see things being delivered by drone to speed things up, but often probably still shipped enormous distances and things like that. Yeah, that's really interesting. Anything else that's already you've found interesting about operating in the US compared to maybe a UK and European event and things like that?
I guess culturally, from a sales perspective, things are a little different over there. They're quite, you know, the US salespeople they're quite braggy, aren't they? They're quite, we can definitely do this for you and we will definitely deliver that, no doubt. Our sales technique over here it's a little more subtle, isn't it? It's a little, don't overpromise and then underdeliver. It's definitely the opposite. So I think culturally that's quite valid in the US. And I think maybe, you know, what we've found so far is that a lot of people are quite adaptive and it's not adaptive, it's the wrong word, quite receptive to the English model of sales because it's a bit different. It's not as brash and as shiny necessarily as the US. So I think that's having some headway for us for sure.
Yeah, the one thing I've learned is that the UK accent, and I know we've got totally different accents, mate, but maybe in other countries we sound the same. It certainly does help to open some doors, or at least get people to listen to you because it's unique and stuff. So that's
but they think we all sound like Harry Potter. Or Prince William.
Somebody said to me, they think I sound really posh over there. I was like, I could not be more common if you tried. Coming on a little bit more about kind of, accessibility and the technology and things like that. We use and work with you on our show. One of the reasons is because of our international audience, right? So we have individuals coming from numerous different countries. And while, yes, English is, one of the top ranking, most popular learned and understood languages in the world, I think from a comfortable perspective, to think that you're going to come and listen to maybe 6, 7, 8 hours of content in English when that's not necessarily your native language is probably a big expectation on somebody. Not the most comfortable way, probably not the most clear way. So, how have you found that technology being adopted as well, in combination with your headsets, the translation technology that makes it accessible in their preferred language?
Well, it's happening more and more. That's the short answer. Events, as you've already touched on, are looking at how they can be more inclusive and more accessible. It's particularly relevant in the Middle East because, often they need the events to be in English and in Arabic and potentially other languages as well. So what we've done in the last couple of years really is again start working with partners who are in the translation game, using their technology for the actual translation, whether it be in person, in the room, in the old sort of style way, or remote simultaneous interpretation, or more commonly now AI translation. And then we basically use their platform and then deliver the end audio back out through the headphones. So the headphones, the latest model's got 45 channels, so there's so much scope to deliver all those languages. And even if it's not, on every theatre or in 10 different languages, even if you're able to deliver it in a couple of key languages, it really helps. Because if you're at an event and you might speak English, you might not, but you understand Spanish or German or whatever it is, you feel like you're really being looked after and you're being catered for at that event. So again, I think it's really important that event organizers do look at that as often as they can. I know it's not always the cheapest option, translation, but there are other things out there such as captions. I know you guys run captions at Events at Live, which again help, alongside the headphones. If you're listening to the session, you're immersed in the content, but you've got that sort of reinforcement of the captions on a screen. I think it really helps. I think captions is a really inexpensive way of helping your event be more accessible and inclusive, for sure.
I'd go as far as to say that an event that isn't using captioning technology, whether that's accessible through people, on their own devices by scanning a QR code, or on the main screen behind the keynote, or on, repeater screens or comfort screens for the audiences and stuff like that. I feel that's a real basic need now for attendees, whether you're hard of hearing or whatever, or hard of sight or whatever it is. For me, those are really basic accessibility technologies that should be part and parcel of the event.
100%, completely.
And not having those technologies, you are making it much more difficult and challenging for people who have those requirements to access your event. I mean, I'm getting a lot older, mate. My eyesight's shot. Do you know what I mean now? So I want that stuff on my device. And I think the other thing to consider there as well, and it's the same with your technology, focusing people's attention, is that we're so distracted by other things. It could be somebody talking behind us. It could be somebody talking over the aisle, but it could also be our own personal devices, mobile phones, iPads, things like that, pinging off, requiring our attention and things like that. And I think, headsets and captions technologies really do help focus the attendee on concentrating on the content that's at hand, rather than kind of drifting off and then going, oh crap, I just missed the last 5 minutes. What did they say? Kind of thing. Text captions are a great thing, is you can scroll back through them, can't you? So if you did miss something, you can see it there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It really adds value to the event. And if you're in a session, you need to be able to hear it. I mean, it's very basic. It's a very basic principle. But if you can't hear what's going on, then you know, what's the point in what's the point in being there? It's so simple. But having the headphones on, you know, even if there's loads of stuff going on behind you, you're fully engaged in that what's in front of you. You're not being disturbed by all the stuff going on outside you. So
yeah. And if people have paid a lot of money to be there, like they will have had for AWS, you know, they expect to be able to hear that content clearly, don't they, and concisely. So
yes.
absolutely, mate. I want to ask you a question because there are other suppliers out there that are more promoting to use technology that allows people to use their own headsets and bring their own AirPods and things like that. In your professional opinion, what's the pros and cons of going that way versus, you know, what Silent Seminars does with headsets that are delivered and provided for attendees?
That's a good question. I mean, we do also have a platform, I should say, that allows people to use their own headsets, and we do use that quite frequently alongside our headphones. I mean, I guess the thing is, if you're asking people to bring their own headphones to an event and that's the only option, if people don't bring them, then they're excluded from the events. That's the first pro I would definitely say in terms of our technology and why it's still needed, even if people are using those bring your own device platforms, which are great, but you need to be able to cater for everybody. So those devices are not always accessible for everybody. If you don't have your own headphones, or if your battery on your phone stops working, or the Wi-Fi is one of the biggest problems, because as you know, event Wi-Fi can be very expensive. If you're at Excel and you're relying on the in-house Wi-Fi, you're probably going to run into some issues, and there's usually going to be quite a hefty bit of delay as well. When you're using the mobile phone instead of the headphones, which run on radio frequency, so it's immediate. There is absolutely no delay whatsoever. So I think there's room for both technologies. I do, and I think they can work alongside each other. I don't think it has to be one or the other.
Yeah, no, I agree. You know, my wife, you know, bit of a germaphobe, and we have a fantastic cleaning regime with you guys when it comes to maintaining and hygiene for the headsets that we use at the show. But you know, you could nuke them in an oven and she'd still wouldn't want to put them on her head because she's just that way inclined. So she'd be the one that wants to use her own headsets. But I've used my own headsets, and actually the experience for me wasn't fantastic because my phone wanted to push my calls through to overtaking my headset, so I was missing content while people would kind of call me and interrupt me and things like that and stuff like that. So that was a bit of a quirk and an annoyance at the
100%. And you know, there's something nice about just sitting down in the theater and just picking up a pair of headsets, putting them on, and that's it. Simple technology. There's no issues there. You don't have to do anything. You might want to adjust the volume a little bit, but apart from that, you don't have to do anything. Otherwise, you're plugging in phones or putting your Bluetooth, and you know, it's a little bit more complicated, I guess.
Yeah, and I think just finally, and again, I'm for all of these technologies. I think they have the right place, the right time, and all that kind of stuff. But again, you know, I've got pretty good headphones, and I very much doubt they would last me the train down, 6 hours of content, and the train journey back, plus whatever phone calls and things I needed to take in between. They're just not there when it comes to active time and things like that. So yeah. But talking about the technology, you know, how do you see the evolution of headsets moving? Is there anything exciting coming down the road that you think will kind of add value to the experience?
There are a few developments in the pipeline, some quite exciting adaptations to the technology, but I can't really spill any beans about it on here because then I'd be giving away our
trade secrets. I did try, for people that listen. I did try. Just bear that in mind. Well, we'll be the first to kind of shout about and release things like that.
When any developments come about, we'll be showcasing them at Event Tech Live and Event Tech Live US, I guess.
That's it. We'll just say it's like the Apple keynote again, the next generation of headset. Come and see it live and direct at Event Tech Live on the main stage at Event Tech Live. And for yourself, then, you know, you're already taking on the world. What's the vision for Silent conferences over the next 12 to 18 months? Are we all going to be? Am I going to be invited to a silent disco on Duncan's yacht in the Middle East or something like that? Is that how it's going to
go? Hopefully, yeah. I mean, you're going to be possibly living out there, aren't you? So you'll definitely be getting an invite. I mean, really, for us, it's just the next sort of 12 to 18 months are just purely about growth, getting into new markets, getting our product, which we know is great and we know is successful and we know works and really, is a great solution to a problem that event organizers have got. It's just getting it out there to as many people as possible and growing the brand, because that's the key thing, isn't it? Like I've said before, there's a need for this wherever there's an event industry. So it's how do we get our brand, our trusted brand, known in these other territories and other locations where where they're showing huge potential for growth. But also, we don't want to take our foot off the gas here in the UK. We've got a lot of brilliant clients who trust us, and we don't want to start going further afield and then pushing anyone down the pecking order. It's really important that we sort of stay on point and make sure we're still delivering the quality of service for everyone, our loyal customers who really are the bedrock of the success of the company.
Okay, brings me on to my fun section now, the quick fire random round robin questions, just at the end.
Go on.
What's the weirdest place, venue or location that a silent seminar headset has ever been used in?
The weirdest, can't think of a weird one. I can give you a picturesque one, a very incredibly beautiful setting. Do you know the island Sark?
Yes. Yeah.
Sark, yeah. I think is it off the Isle of Wight or Isle of Man? Isle of Man. I don't know. One of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is going way back. This is probably before Silent Seminars was even a brand. We got asked by Nike to come and do this activation for some of its most promising athletes that were in their, I don't know, some program they were running, and they basically wanted to take them to the top of this hill in Sark to do like a fitness thing. So they had a coach there and he was mic'd up, but they wanted to do it through headsets because the range was like 200 meters or something, and they couldn't use a PA to instruct them that far. So we flew some headphones over on this tiny rickety little plane. I went myself, but I don't know if you know Sark, they don't have any vehicles other than tractors. So there's no cars, nothing like that. It's all farm equipment. So we had to get on the back of a tractor and drive up the top of this hill and deliver this session to all these athletes who looked around like, what the hell are we doing here? What is going on? But it was incredible. It was so strange and unique, but interesting. And the views on that island are just second to none. It was amazing.
Please tell me there is a picture somewhere of you sat on a tractor with a headset on.
I wish there was. The only picture
about PR and marketing, mate, because that would have been a good photo opportunity.
I'm pretty sure if Electric Cat had been involved with us back then, they would have been right on it.
No doubt, mate. They'd have had you dressed up looking like a proper farmer and all sorts.
Yeah.
One piece of golden advice for any audio AV challenged event organizer out there. It doesn't have to be headsets. It could be anything. Just, what's that one piece of advice?
It's going to be straightforward, straight up. Just use headphones. Just make sure you're using headphones. Be inclusive to everyone. Look after the people who might be, neurodiverse or whatever it is. Just get headsets on people, because that quality audio is important. That's the only and best piece of advice I could give.
Okay. Most underrated benefit of using a headset?
Again, just to strip it back, I'd say it might not be underrated, I don't know, but simply being able to hear, just being able to hear in clarity, that seems straightforward, an obvious thing to say, but I think that's got to be it, hasn't it? That's why when you're walking down the street, why'd you put headphones on instead of just listening? It's because you can hear properly, and you lose your inhibitions when you got headphones on, don't you? That's why the silent disco thing works so well, because as soon as you put headphones on someone who might not necessarily normally get up and dance, they lose their inhibitions and they're on the dance floor and
I think the thing I like as an organizer there, right, is to cater to an audience at, let's say, a business function, but there's a disco, there's a fun element, there's a band, something like that. The choice of which genre and style that you go with is astronomically hard to make that choice, because you've obviously got your own choices and preferences. I've got quite an eclectic taste, so mine's all over the place.
Yeah.
But then what does the audience like? Because even I've spoken to so many people even recently got into their music taste, and I was like, I would never have guessed you liked that genre just on the way that you are and the way that you act and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So with the silent element of it, and it just gives you, doesn't it, that option to have multiple genres on at the same time, so people can choose and flip between which ones. If they want more of a chilled out vibe, or they want more of an up tempo vibe, or something like that. They've got that choice, right?
Absolutely. I think that's why the concept of the silent disco, apart from it being so unique and a bit strange, looking at a room full of people dancing in apparent silence, I think that's why it worked so well, because you could all of a sudden, you didn't have to say, well, we're an R&B night or we're a dance night. You can attract 3 different audiences essentially, or more. And that's what we used to do when we used to run the events back in the day. We used to have an indie DJ on one channel, very specific. He was stuck to the genre rigidly. And then you'd have a dance channel, and then you'd maybe have like a cheese or 80s channel. And it was amazing. You'd see people switching from channel to channel, and that's why it works. So all of a sudden, you didn't have to pigeonhole your event. You could open it up to loads of different people. And I think that's why it worked, and it still does work.
Right. Final question, and we're going to see how eclectic your taste truly is, Duncan. If Silent Seminars was a band or DJ, what genre or who would they be?
Well, I'd like to say, I mean, you can see behind me, you can see Mr. Gallagher. I'm not going to say no. I'm going to say, so I'd like to do, someone unpredictable or edgy and hard, like Slipknot, but it's not really on brand.
Quite aggressive, that into me.
So I'm going to go for someone who's consistent, prolific, and she always delivers hits. And also my daughter would heftily approve, Taylor Swift.
There you go then. Yeah, that's a great choice. You're not going to upset anybody with Taylor Swift.
And also, just to add to that, we're quite a female heavy company as well. And I think Taylor Swift's a feminist, self-proclaimed feminist, so why not Swiftie?
Well, anybody out there listening to this, because the 7 is it the 7 rules of separation, which from here there's 7, so somebody that knows somebody that will know Taylor Swift, right?
Yeah.
I'm just going to put it out there. If anybody can make it happen for Taylor Swift to be wearing one of Silent Seminars headsets at any event in the future, Duncan will make it worth your while.
100%. I know someone who could, Mr. ChatGPT.
I mean, yeah, but it's not the real thing, is it? Let's be honest. You probably also get some kind of legal letter or bill across the table as well, maybe, with Taylor's team. But listen, it's the event industry. We can make it happen. We can make it happen.
Just one last thing to say on Taylor Swift. Our legendary DJ, Nick, who I know you've met loads of times, he's the biggest Taylor Swift fan going. He absolutely adores her. I mean, he's a year older than me. He's 42. And I was looking he'd left his car at the unit the other day, and on his back seat was just a Taylor Swift calendar.
Listen, I think those who love music the most have the largest repertoire and the most eclectic tastes. I've been brought up with all different types of genres. I've introduced myself to others later on in life. And I am literally that person that 1 minute I can be listening to the fastest, hardest techno you've ever listened to in your life. And the next minute I'm listening to Eric Clapton or something like that, because it's just, that's the way that nobody wants to listen to my Spotify end of year rap. That's for sure. Cause it's all over the place, but
I would.
And just like the events industry, there's an event for everybody, every type, every genre, everything. And I think there's some things very in common. Well, Duncan, truly appreciate you coming on today. From here for the next 10, 15 years, we wish you every success in going global and growing into the US market. If you are in the US market and you've found it interesting to hear what Duncan and his team are doing, and you see a desire or an interest in learning more, reach out to Duncan on LinkedIn or at the Silent Seminars website. Once again, mate, thank you very much for coming on, and hopefully we'll catch up with you soon, maybe on that yacht. Who knows?
It's been a pleasure. Thanks, mate.